Welcome to another Toybox audio video demonstration video, and this one won't necessarily be so much of a device overview or block intensive investigation. We're going to use a couple of the interesting blocks to build a patch, or a rack as the terminology should be. So one of the cool new things that came with the version 2 of this Nano Blocks collection is the sequencer segment. Now, by itself, it's one step of a sequencer, but in a chain, it is a sequencer. So more than one of these is a whatever step sequencer you want it to be. So let's build a sequencer. So the way we do this is, well, we're just going to build we're going to build an 8-step sequencer. And we do that by selecting them, and we can shift select this. You see what's going on here. Duplicate, select the remaining ones. Now we've got an 8-step sequencer. So these devices are triggered by the reset switch. So I'll show you. Let's have a look at one device, and then we'll slowly build up the sequencer and synth at the end of the chain. So I like this. There's my sequencer, and as my oscillator, and let's stick a simple envelope in afterwards to mute the sound. So out of here into the mixer. And okay, so let's look at one of these and what's going on here. So this light here, as you can see, is, well, it might not be obvious to you at the moment, but it is the gate output basically. So every time that flicks, it's sending a gate out. And the gate is dependent on these these three knobs at the bottom here, basically, whether that moment in time is going to handle repeats or just a single trigger, or will be muted, or a few little patterns and random stuff up, and like the ups and downs are kind of developments of rolls, basically. So from fast to slow, slow to fast type thing. And we've got a jitter, which is a kind of a randomy thing, two swing settings, and there's a complete chaos, I think, as well, which is different from the random. So, there's a little help on the thing, but we'll have a look at that when we get around to it. So what we want is a simple repeat. Now, let's push this. Let's push the pitch to the pitch valve operator, and the gate to the reset. And we'll also shove the gate in the gate of the envelope so we can hear what's going on. Now we're going to click at the moment. Oh, that's because it's the envelope out, because I'm a fool. There we go. There's our FM operator. Let's make it a little bit, very nice little semi-triangle thing. So what's going on here? So let's just reduce the time that is going to make a sound so we can better hear what these are doing. So as you can see, this sequencer segment is being triggered by the gate coming out of the clock. Obviously that could be anything, but I'm just using it from the clock to relate the sequence to kind of time. So that's triggering that. Now, if I speed up the rate at which that segment is running, the gate reduces in time, as you can hear. If I speed up twice, it's half as long, third as long, 4 times as long. Now, that's handy because I can up the count, the steps thing at the bottom of the sequencer, and repeat that sound, as you can hear it building up. I'll reduce and So yeah, this is basically the number of times it's going to be repeated in that step. So you can hear that's 5 repeats at twice the speed. So if I just put it back to 1 again, you can hear 5 steps, and there's 3 gaps at the end where we're not completing the rest of the bar. So if I up that to 8, this will be continuous. And here's the obvious things: so the pitch at the top there, and these 2 mod buttons are attached to, well, relate to these ports out, and are basically just modulation parameters. So they can be anything. Just one's bipolar. Oh no, they're both unipolar. So one can modulate anything you want, and one can be used to modulate the slide as it's named. So conventionally, if I stop the clock for the moment. So these will be triggered in a line depending on how we've got this next one connected. So here we go. Now we've got a 2-step sequencer. But before I connect that, what we're going to need to do, because obviously this operator, this oscillator, the FM operator, and the envelope only have single inputs for things like the gates and the pitches and that kind of thing. So we need to sum those outputs from the sequencer segments together to make sure that the devices at the end hear everything. So I go for a sum 12 because we've got 8 segments here, and 6 isn't enough. So I'll call this summing machine the pitch, and I'll make my screen flash like that. I will also duplicate that and call that gate. So now we can attach the pitch output of, say, just this first 2 for the moment. Let's just demonstrate these 2. Both pitch outs to that sum. I'm going to attach that to the in. Forgive me, this one here. To the pitch in, and as you remember, this is a gate. So we'll connect step 1 to the gate and step 2 to the gate. And that, not from there, can be passed to the waveform reset of the oscillator, and we'll need to trigger the gate as well, trigger the envelope as well from that same gate. So there we go. Now let's connect these up. Now it sounds weird because we've got some screwed up settings here, so let's just reduce this to. So what we've got here, let's change the pitch of that one. So it's moving quickly because this step's only being told to last from this function 1 amount of time, 1 step of time. So if we increase that, it's half the time. So it's moving to that next step quicker. Now it's not cycling back, this is just a linear row. There is a way to cycle these back round again with summing sequences. I'll show you'll begin to understand, you'll get the idea as we build this sequencer up. It's basically, to loop around, you'd be adding the final next and the gate in to the first reset, and that will continue the cycle around. Maybe we'll get to that later on. But let's just go through this for the moment. So we've got 2 parts of that sequencer, 2 different notes. And let's just connect that again and see if we can put up with the sound for not too long. Let me change the, there we go. A bit more interesting. So what we can do is slow this whole sequence down, if you like. And so what we're going to do is connect all of these next to the next reset port in the sequencer segment. And as you can see, that gate line, these gate flashes are going along the line, but obviously it's being reset. As soon as this gate, which is half a bar, triggering at half a bar, sends the gate to this first segment, the cycle restarts. And as you can see, that's the sequencer. It's as simple as that. So we've got these summing machines at the end, of which we can dump all this, attach all these pitch outputs. I don't know if you can hear, but the pitch is going back, even though we haven't got a trigger on that last, on this last segment here, because the sound is hanging around a bit. It's flicking back to the note that this is specified, so we can put it a lot lower. You can hear it. So as soon as we attach that to a gate, that'll re-trigger. Let's just do all these. Pitch to pitch, gate to gate. So, here we go, that's a nice long line of notes. What I'm also going to put in towards the end as well, because it just makes the sound a bit more, well, it's just a bit easier to control. We're going to put a scale device in, so we're going to force the pitches that are being generated from each of these segments to a certain pitch. So pitch there, and we'll stick that in some kind of pentatonic and nice. So let's just move these around. Okay, we've got some pitches going along there. You can hear what's going on there. So let's put these back to 1. Okay, there we go. We see what's going on there. So let's look at these repeat switches down here. What we're going to do is I'm going to slow down all of these. So you can hear what's going on there. So let's increase. So now this step is repeating the note twice and occupying 2 steps because we've halved the time. So if I put up to 4, that takes the whole cycle of the half bar sequence that we are triggering via the clock. So I put that down to 3, we'll get the next. And so if we like, let's try this. So that's occupying 1.5 of the remaining 3/4 of the remaining beat, and the last quarter of the beat has been occupied by this segment. So it sounds a bit odd, so let's just try and keep to whole. And let's do a repeat on here. Let's increase the time in here. And if we increase the step playback speed for this segment by 2, and then have 2 repeats. We can hear those 2 beats there, so let's do it up to 4, and then again we're taking up with that setting 1 lump of time. Same with like 8. Okay, so you see what's going on there. Let's put this back down to 4 and play with these repeat with the behavior, the playback mode. You can see what's going on here. These are obviously named, and let's move to these 2. There's a couple of patterns here that get played with, so you can see we're triggering again sending 2 gates in this particular segment of the sequencer, but the pattern is as if they were 4, and we're triggering the first 2. And so this is as if there are 6, but we're triggering the first 2, dropping 1, and then triggering the next 2. I mean, these can create some really interesting rhythms. Okay, I think you see what's going on here, the way this little knob works, and kind of what the options are. random triggers, rolls. The roll is obviously attached to the rate of the playback speed of the segment. Let's just turn the attack up a little bit. So let's extend this sequence a bit by shortening the time this one spends on itself and reduce that roll. So let's play around with a few of these. And do a few drops here and there. Let's do a kind of some kind of bass noise, and let's just transpose the whole lot down by an octave. And it's just okay, there you go. That's the sequencer. I'm sure you can make some good use of that we just went through. Now let's stick a drum thing underneath, and we can hear how it relates to constant time. I mean, you can hear it's a regular cycle going on there, so it's pretty obvious. So let's get an LFO, use that to control the position of the gate sequencer. We'll have an inverted saw, and the rate will be, let's put that down to a bar, and the output in the position. And here we go, in the samplers, we'll go for the cheap drums, because my CPU's a bit rubbish. And reset to trigger. Let's turn the mixer down a bit, and you can see that's already triggering a lot. So let's mute some of these. And let's just, oh, there we go. Syncing up nicely. So and let's have, oh, we've got this turning into a bit of a hard techno tune, isn't it, really? So let's stick another drum component in it, and this one's going to be I want it to be a rim shot. Let's do a little rim somewhere around there. Stick. And we will use what are we going to use? I know what we're going to use. We will use a random component so we're going to trigger it on every single step by connecting the reset to one of the main MIDI clocks and increasing that, because at the moment you can see that's only triggering on the bar. So if I reduce that to 16th, you can see that's triggering at 16ths. And if I turn the volume down on this, put this in there. Let's just find a better. There we go. Okay, what can we do to this? Let's connect this gate again or this randomizer, which is going to be triggered by a gate, to something. Let's select the tune. And obviously that's, you can see because it's direct modulation, we're going all over the whole. So in the nano blocks, obviously it's different from the regular blocks where you would set your modulation depth by clicking the A or B buttons, and then those little graduation sliders pop up and you determine how much is going to be hitting that kind of modulation target from the A/B ins. These nano collections most of them have direct modulation ports in next to the knob themselves, because they're all very small form. So we try to keep them nice and simple like that. So as you can see, it's the level of this randomization depth that is describing how much the randomizer is affecting the tune. Of that, I've just noticed as well, if we use the bi randomizer, we can hit both sides of that tune rather than just going up. So let's hit that. As you can hear, that is mangled nicely. And I'm going to use another randomizer, just the unipolar randomizer, to affect the volume. Okay. Okay, and there's a basic sequencer with the sequencer segment block, which is new to the version 2 Nano collection pack, and a very basic kick thing, and this kind of randomized drum step, which can be expanded on enormously, which I'm sure we'll explore in another video. So I will thank you for joining. I'm going to turn this off by disconnecting. And I can turn the level down. See, this kind of thing is wonderful. So we've got an LFO driving these two, this gate sequencer, and this drum is being triggered by the main clock out, and since that's running because I'm recording in Logic at the moment, that's not going to stop, so that's going to keep in time. But if I reduce the level, the volume of this inverted saw wave that's driving the position of the gate sequencer, it just screws everything up, which is great. So it always starts in the same place, but depending on the size of this LFO, so we could have I reckon around 70 or something might give us triplets. There you go. What fun. Okay, thanks for watching and listening, fans of blocks and the Toybox audio video collection of videos. Okay, I'll stop it there. Thank you for joining, and come back for more.